makeup. Right now he's robot-doing Terry Funk in a bionic elbow. Sends him right out of the ring.
Push it on.
Yes, I was watching Elton John this morning being interviewed on Discovery Channel.
What did he discover?
Not much.
Did you see his duet with Dolly Parton at the CMA Awards the other night?
No, but I saw a bit of a duet between Dusty Rhodes and Vince McMahon the other night.
You want to explain that? What
Well,
was that?
it's just a little goofy, you know.
Well, as you know, Dusty Rhodes
I think
is
they're
not
having
here.
a love affair right now.
Vince McMahon and Dusty Rhodes?
Vince McMahon and Dusty Rhodes.
Too
are
much
having a love
information.
affair.
I don't even want to picture
I
that.
thought you were
Oh,
talking
God.
about Dolly Parton and...
Yeah, how did Dolly Parton and Elton John bring on Vince McMahon and Dusty Rhodes? Just curious.
Well, Elton John used to be pretty fat, but not as fat as Dusty.
Why are you ripping on Dusty? He was, as you know, Dusty Rhodes was supposed to be here this evening. I don't know why he's not here, but...
Because he's a fat, overbearing, obnoxious, wind-breaking, egg-sucking dog.
Would you two come over here with your signs, please, and show them to the camera here? So you people will see that Terry Funk, although he was truthfully feeling this, just show this right to the cameras here.
Thank you guys for holding those for me after I went ahead and drew them for you.
You should join the art department somewhere. And some, but what is? Do you have any animosity like he does about Dusty Rhodes? Now that the floor is open about Dusty Rhodes here.
You know, I said for years, whenever I went into Tampa to wrestle Dusty, there was, I used to call him the whale.
And why is that? Never mind. Go ahead.
Well, he was sunbathing one day and everybody running up the beach saying, "My God, there's a whale washed ashore." Closer inspection, it was Dusty.
It was Dusty. Somebody told me a Dusty joke, but I don't know if I can go for it.
Why not?
Yeah, he's not here.
This is not on tape, is it? No? Okay, it's on DVD. No, somebody this afternoon said to me, "Do you know why Dusty moved to Atlanta?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, there's more House of Pancakes." And that's terrible. That's why I said it was. That's why I wasn't going to say that. I love you if you're watching this, of course.
I thought it was Waffle Houses.
No, you used to go to the Waffle House in Tampa. I used to see you in there all the time.
Yeah, I used to go to the Waffle House in Tampa.
It was opposite the Admiral Benbow Inn where we all used to stay.
That's exactly right.
I can't believe I remember that.
I don't remember it too clearly.
Now, did you... What has...
After there isn't anything that you don't remember.
Sort of. Although, I did get a call from my wife about 3 hours ago. She said you didn't remember to change the doorknob on the laundry room and now I can't get in there. But that's guy procrastination. That's another story. Anyway, what is this whole thing with you and Dusty? First of all, why isn't he here? He was supposed to be here tonight, and I don't know. Do you
Why
know?
isn't Dusty Rhodes here? I'll
I
tell
asked
you
you.
why he isn't here. Because Dusty Rhodes is up in New York with his nose up Vince McMahon's butt. If you
There's
want
a
to know the truth.
big hand for noses up butts here.
Yeah, and Vince McMahon is up in New York with his nose up Dusty's butt. Now that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Too much information.
Yeah, that's,
I don't even want to picture that. Well, did you want to add anything to that?
Not touching that at all.
Okay.
The rat, they just weren't going to risk their money.
Did either of you feel, after working for WWF, after they came out and said, hey, we're entertainment, did either of you feel inwardly that you compromised your own, your careers?
Absolutely. Absolutely, we compromised, and it was the only way to do it. And I'm not so sure it was wrong at that time. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. They're doing huge business. Maybe not as much as they were 5 or 6 years ago. It made, the newspapers were able to put more publicity out on wrestling, and it became more visible whenever he did it. For maybe 5 or 6 years. Now, is it hurting it? I don't know. Or is it helping it?
I think it sucks.
I think, yeah.
Well, by a show of hands
Wait,
here, who likes the WWE product? I mean, there's some of it that you take people like Benoit in there, and you know.
Well, you can't single out names.
So we're talking
The
overall product.
You either got to go with what it is. Because when you start singling out names, there's a lot of guys up there who are some of the greatest talent that's still alive today.
Correct. Correct.
And also, you know, these people grew up on Carolinas. So I want to know, how many of you like the product he's putting out now?
Not one.
Not one person, really don't like the product that he's putting out.
I don't watch it.
And every one of y'all really grew up on Crockett Promotions, which was a very wonderful thing that you watched as children, came up through your lives, and here you are today, and not one of you held up your hands. To me, that's utterly amazing, you know. And I'll tell you what, though, is I wouldn't hold my hand up either, because I watched their show and I absolutely think it stinks.
Are there any elements?
Now, here we are, we're sitting up there, though, and we're running those shows up there, and who's up there now? Well, here we are with Dusty Rhodes, that fat asshole. Then we're up there with Steamboat. Then we're up there with Anderson. Then we're up there with DiBiase, and they're a bunch of great guys. But what's wrong with the business is because there you go. It's just an extension of Vince McMahon and what he wants the business to be. And he is in complete and utter control in it. Does he really like us sitting here and being a part of the business right here? And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for Harley. I'm speaking on my own. Does he really like independent shows? No, because he feels that they are a possible infection that could grow over a long period of time, and he's going to try to wipe them out, no matter how small they are. Now, this is how this man thinks. This is just the same way that Walmart did to so many companies across the United States. They wiped them out. They came in there with better prices. Does he have a better product? I really don't think he does. But do you think it's a better product because you watch it on TV? But some people do. A lot of people do. They watch it on TV, and because they are told it's a good product, because of the glitz and the glamour of it, then they tend to believe it. But that is all times in the past. It's rolled past that now. Now let's see what he can produce. Let's see what he can put into the ring. Will he be successful for the next 10 years? Or will we be watching shoot fighting? Or will we be watching a variation of that? Where are we headed? Or will we disappear? Those are all things that could happen that we all have to think about, try to figure it out. We don't have to think about it. I'm sitting here saying we have to think about it. It's not going to change your life. And it's probably not going to change Harley's life. And it probably won't change my life. But damn, as I just love the business and I want to see good things happen to it and it go in a good direction. And a direction where kids can watch it and say, Dadgum, that was a good show. and they can grow up and be just like you guys out there. And be sitting in a place and say, hey, I watched that back here when I was a kid. I watched all of that stuff, loved it. Grew up on it. It was fun. I think that'd be great if we could continue on like that, but I don't think the product he's putting out will do it, you know?
The fan of today and the kids of today are going to grow up thinking that this is what pro wrestling is all about. Do either of you watch TNA? Harley?
I've watched TNA. I've been on their show occasionally.
Okay, so
But that's not the answer.
what is the answer?
Putting a six-sided ring out there and making it a bigger circus is not the answer. It's going back.
Amen.
Cheers, my friend. It's been a long time.
Give Bill a beer.
I like it. He's telling you the truth right now. He's hitting the bottom line on this right now.
TNA when they first started, I thought was maybe going to be some competition to Vince. They had several of the names and looked like they were headed in the right direction. But when you octagon a ring just to be different, to me is you've taken wrestling and just put it deeper into a circus. If they'd went back to the basics of what was going on, wrestling's always been the battle between good and evil. And I've been on the evil side of it for so damn long that people started cheering for me at some point in time. But if you take that out of it and you scramble it to where there is no good, there is no evil, it's just generic guys going in the ring and flip-flopping around for 10 minutes is a long match nowadays. When you bring it down to that, what do the people have to cheer for? What do they have to boo for? They're looking at the same product night after night after night, and it doesn't change.
What you are looking at, and I don't mean this badly, but the bottom line is what you're looking at is a bunch of half-assed acrobats. And I don't mean that. They're very good, but they aren't Circus Olay. But they're damn well good, but they're not that. And what you got to do is remember what we're doing. We're wrestling. You know, Harley Race has wrestling matches up there where he is, in Kansas City, St. Louis. You guys would love them. I mean, they are great with young people in them. And you know what his motto is? And I love it. Shut up and let's wrestle. And that's what they do. And he won't allow it other ways or otherwise. And he doesn't allow a lot of things up there. And Harley does a great job up there. And I want to tell you how good of a job that he does is Trevor Murdoch came from up there. And let me tell you something. Trevor Murdoch is a young man, but he's a good man. And he's a good man because he came up through Harley Race's school. And I'll tell you what, you aren't going to ever find Trevor Murdoch going ahead and putting steroids into his body. You're not going to find Trevor Murdoch going ahead and doing drugs. The reason why is because of Harley. Not because he thinks Harley is going to be over his shoulder and going to kick him in the butt, which he would, but because he knows that if Harley found out he was doing that, he would be alienated. Harley wouldn't talk to him. He would disown him. And Trevor has a great deal of respect for Harley, and all of Harley's boys have a great deal of respect for him. And I think that that's what we're missing in the business. I know through the years, whenever I came in, as I respected Iron Mike DiBiase, I respected Pat O'Connor, I respected Lou Thez, I respected all of these wonderful guys that were great wrestlers. I truly looked up and admired them, and by golly, if they said something, I did it, and I listened. And they would tell you. And Harley will tell those young guys, but that's what they're not getting in some parts of the country. They don't have the good leaders. Where did we go? Hell, I still run around out there. I try to tell them some things, but sometimes it just doesn't take effect. It really doesn't. They have to have it brainwashed into them, and they have to have a fear that you're going to lose that individual, or you're going to lose your relationship with that guy. And he does a great job up there, and I'm just thoroughly impressed with him and the promotion that he's got up there.
Thank you, Terry. That's a hell of a compliment. What I try to do, and it's impossible to sit here and to try, give you a full explanation of it. But if you don't respect one another when you walk in that ring, you're going to have what you see right now. My thought is, I want the people that comes into my show to be able to bring a little girl like that right there and not fear that they're going to see or hear something that's going to have her asking questions for 6 weeks afterwards about what happened or how did it happen, or bring in the grandmother and have her wondering the same thing. If you give them, my firm belief is if you give them a product that they can sit there and enjoy without fear of all that other garbage coming in, it'll come back twofold to you. And we've been in business 6 years and we're still trucking right along. And the only thing that I contribute that to is just keeping the product clean and family friendly.
And I'd like to say one other thing is Harley keeps his product pure. He really does. And it's great to go up there and watch the matches with those kids up there, and they go into that ring, and when those kids go into that ring, you don't see them jumping down on the floor, running through the crowd. You don't see all of this hardcore stuff. Yes, you see hardcore. Hardcore that I think is, I have my own definition of hardcore. What is hardcore? Hardcore is giving 110% and doing your best out there that you can to entertain those people. And that's what Harley's boys do, is they go out there, but they have to do it in the ring. And you never see a match get outside of the ring. And I'll tell you what, they give some great performances. Very impressed with them. And I'm not trying to say that Harley is the only person around the country that's doing this. I know that there's some other independent promoters that are busting their tails like Tony is here, and a lot of them throughout the country, trying to give you a good product.
All right, now I got to hit you with this. On one hand, you're saying that you appreciate and love what Harley Race is doing, and yet on the other hand...
Do I appreciate what Terry Funk's doing? Why
absolutely, no. On the other hand, I look at, when they look at the legends of ECW, which goes completely against everything his promotion stands for, and here's Terry Funk as one of the head guys in ECW.
Hang on, let me interject something there. Back at that point in time, there was a fight for survival of different phases of wrestling. Paulie, when he came up with this thing, it was totally out of left field, away from what was happening in Vince's parade. And it was a struggle to survive. And right here, my friends, is a survivor.
For sure. Yeah, survive. Yeah, I quit and I come back. And I quit again and I come back again. But I promise you, tomorrow night's gonna be my last night. Until the next weekend.
I was going to say, you got 2 shows for me coming up here, not too long.
What did you think when you first saw ECW? Did you think like, oh my God, those guys are crazy?
When I first saw it,
Yeah.
I didn't first see it, I was ECW. Dadgummit, it was whenever I first started it up there, I mean, when we first went up there, and I didn't start it, a lot of guys started it. Every guy started it. There's no one great person, not Paulie, not me. It was a bunch of guys. And like Harley said, looking for a way to survive. And I promise you that whenever we were first up there, man, you saw some great matches. The hardcore wasn't as absurd as, you know, we had a 3-way up there, the first 3-way. It wasn't that hardcore, but yes, we did have the occasional hardcore match, barbed wire, but dadgummit, it was just, it's a product. It's a product that we had up there that was a very, very influential product across the nation. And the only reason that we went as far as we did was to try to obtain some press, obtain coverage in any way or form, and we did. We did, and it's had some great performers. Look at all that Vince has got right now from here. You look at Benoit, my gosh, you look at Guerrero, God bless him. You look at so many different guys, Edge, you look at all these different guys that were up there that came from ECW. Many of them, and there's guys behind the scenes now, you know, Tommy Dreamer, Paul E, all of these different guys, you know, all in there pitching, you know.
Was Amarillo as, I'll use the word hardcore, or as tough as ECW back in the Amarillo days? Because I remember all these.
I think it's very tough, and again, because it's what I think is hardcore. I think Harley and I were hardcore. My father had to tell us. He had to pull us out of the ring in Lubbock, Texas. And he had to tell us whenever we got his back dressed, that's enough. I'm not booking you guys against each other. You're going to go ahead and make, you know, you're knocking the crap out of each other. Beating the hell out of each other. Are you nuts or what, you know? And we were nuts at that time, but he and I were the same way. We were going to be damn sure that we gave those people the greatest entertainment that they could possibly have in a night. So we were hardcore back in, as hardcore as you could be. And that's what we were. I can remember Harley hit me over the head with a chair one night and broke 2 vertebrae in my neck. And I couldn't wrestle for about a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks. That's another thing too, is by golly, we went, you know, we had to go. Broke your neck, well, you keep on going, you know, or that's true, isn't it, Harley?
Yes, it is.
Part of it. It was all of that was done for your fellow wrestler and the other guy. Because there was a different way of paying back in. And that was very important, because you got paid by the position you were on the card. And you also got paid by how big the house was, how big the crowd was. And that's what, you know, we wanted to leave it good for the other guys for the following week, so they could make a living, you know, so they could make a buck. Because we had compassion for all those guys, no matter what level of the card they were on. Wahoo McDaniels was great, because Wahoo always fought for the small guy on the card. He fought for the jobbers, he fought for everybody. He'd scream and holler about their payoff. And his, but he'd scream and holler about theirs. He wanted them to make more money. And that's one thing that I thought was great about the Crazy Indian.
What's the worst injury you ever wrestled through? You were injured, you stayed on the road, and kept working. What was the worst one?
I wrestled in Amarillo Television. Was my last night, and I was headed from there to San Francisco. I took a bump out over the top rope back against the edge of the ring. And I got just about to Albuquerque, pulling the trailer, and I could not move my feet off the gas pedal to put it on the brake. So I drug it off, and I told my ex-wife when we get up to the stoplight, we're going up this way, I said, push this thing in park. I cannot move either leg, or any part of my lower body. And I slid over, and she drove the rest of the way to San Francisco, and thank God. By the time I got there, I started to have some feelings come back from my legs, and I called Roy Shire, and he sent me to this doctor, and they x-rayed it. He said I had a small crack just above my sacroiliac. And I, knock on wood, I never took a day off from that. I went ahead, and back then, if you weren't there, if you took one step back, somebody was there to take your position. And it's not that way anymore. Now it's a bid over the contract. Back in his and my day, if you weren't entertaining the people, and if you weren't giving everything you had to give, there was somebody there to take your place.
What about you? Worst injury you ever worked through? Just kept going.
Oh gosh, I'd say that one of the worst ones was in New York whenever I was having a run up there with the Junkyard Dog. But I had a TV match with Lanny Poffo. And I picked him up on my shoulders and was going to take him right over to the ropes and drop down to my fanny, which was a move that I did quite a bit. And would catch a guy on that I had across my shoulders, kind of like the FU that what's his name uses, you know, where you get a guy in that position. Yeah, Cena. So get him in that position, but I'd just walk over to the ropes and I'd just kind of raise up and drop, and the guy would catch with his throat on top ropes, and I'd drop down. Well, this time I wasn't close enough to the ropes, and I just went ahead and dropped right to my rear end. And all of Lanny's weight came down on the back of my neck and drove my neck down like that. And what happened is it took the entire muscle, which I've lost my pectoral muscle on my right side, and it's still not very good. You can tell a definite difference there. Took the pectoral muscle, took my tricep, and it took my shoulder muscle in my back shoulder. It was a nerve injury, and it was the worst one that I ever had, one of the worst ones. I mean, I broke my sacrum, and Harley and I can go on and on. We're just grabbing a couple out of the air, you know what I mean? But that was an awful bad injury, and worked on through that, never took a day off. Never took a day off, you know, I mean, stitches? My God, he and I have been stitched up and sewed up. I know he's done it, I've done it, you know, I've sewed up myself, you know, broken noses, elbows with bursa sacks on them hanging out to here, shoulders knocked down, you know, legs reoperated on, and I'll tell you what, I go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and I'll tell you what, he can go on and on and on twice as long as I can. That's how many injuries he's had in this business, and I'm talking about serious injuries. I'm just so proud to be here and still walking around and doing what I truly love, and I think that Harley feels the same way. It's quite a bit of fun to be running around here, isn't it, Harley?
It certainly is, Terry. The most rejuvenating thing in life, and if you've been in an arena like him and I have been for our whole lives, is when you walk through that curtain and those fans either boo or applaud. You know that you're doing your job right, and they damn well appreciate it because that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, you want them to boo like hell if you're the bad guy, or you
get your
right
job
like
done.
hell if you're the good guy.
Tell me do you have a good, funny Terry Funk story to tell? Something on the road that you can share with all of us?
Well, both of our wives are sitting right up there. I'm not opening.
Okay, all right.
I'm not
Sit down.
opening-
He was just kidding. I wasn't even
I'm
going
not
to ask
opening.
that question.
I'm not opening that gate for
He
you.
doesn't know a thing about me, honey, I promise you.
You got
I
to.
haven't done one thing wrong there, honey. I promise you.
You told me before this. Oh, never mind. Do you have a good Harley
Oh,
story?
you're so funny. Harley,
I'm only kidding,
Nick.
Nick.
Up on you in a minute.
Do you have a Harley story you'd like to you can share with us?
Oh gosh, I got 100 of them.
Well, give us one or 99.
I'm afraid I'm going to get
The
clubbed.
the
I'm
PG
afraid I'm
version,
gonna get-
Terry.
Yeah, PG version is good.
I'm afraid I'm going to get clubbed over here. I really am. Dadgummit, Harley stories are easy to come by. Told one in the book. One in the book that I wrote there is.
By the way, the books are on sale, both their books.
Both our books
at
are
the
back
table
here. Come on
here.
back here and buy a book.
Great books.
With the great
Hey,
books.
how's the books? How's the books?
Both of them's good.
No, but Dadgummit, I'll never forget. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes was down there in El Paso, and I was too, you know. And we took Jerry Graham out and took him out to have a few drinks one night. And sure enough, he just went ahead and drank too much. He drank and drank and drank, and he got so drunk that we brought him back, and he'd been wearing this same suit over and over. And he got in the doggone bathtub and tried to dye his suit a different color because some of the boys had been laughing at him, and he was going to dye it black, but he didn't take the suit off. So he just got in the bathtub with the whole suit, you know. Whenever he got out of the bathtub, well, then he went ahead and he tried to figure out how to dry it off, I guess. So he went ahead and did somersaults on the bed and everywhere else in there, you know. So he dyed 3/4 of the room. So I guess he looked at himself and thought that looks pretty stupid. So he took off the whole suit. So he's just got a pair of bikini panties on. He weighs about 400 pounds, was god-awful looking. So I'll be damned if he didn't go up there to get breakfast with a Hamburg hat on, you know, one of those round hats, and he was headed for breakfast, you know, and I looked out the window and I thought, damn, there goes Jerry. I mean, it's a god-awful thing. He's headed up to that place, that restaurant. So I ran over there and I knocked on dusty doors. I tattled on Jerry, you know. I said, he's headed that way. I said, we got to go ahead and get him back out of here and get him to Odessa. So Dusty decided that'd be the best thing to do, and I did too. So we went ahead and we just got on the telephone and called up my pop. Said, Dad, Jerry Graham's down here and he's really being bad. He said, well, you better get him to Odessa. I said, well, we were thinking maybe we couldn't get him up there. He said, you better get him up there. And that's whenever Harley race came to my mind. I said, Harley, would you take him up there? So Dusty and I got Harley to take Jerry Graham up there, but Harley said he would, only if we went ahead and rented a U-Haul trailer. So we rented a U-Haul trailer, and we shoved Jerry Graham in the trailer, locked the doors. There went Harley down the road with him, you know. He wouldn't about to let that big fat goof sit in the car with him and mess it up. But he went all the way up in the trailer. That's a little short story. I could do better than that.
But it's a true story. It's a true story. Jerry Graham was, at one point in time, had a super brilliant mind for this business also. But at this particular point in time, the bottle and different things had taken over his life. And every time he tells that story, I still remember I just had bought a brand new Lincoln. And can you imagine a 450-pound fat guy sitting in the back of your brand new Lincoln, dyeing fabric with it. It was quite some time before Terry and I spoke after that. His dad was the boss. I was working for him, and the bad kid and Dusty had already tuck off, so there was one thing left, and it was up to me to get him there.
Do either of you have a really good Andre the Giant story? I know both of you were on the road with him.
Harley, would you go first on that one?
Go ahead.
Well, again, I'm gonna keep this PG. I got a picture up there. First time Andre was fully slammed in 1978 in Houston, Texas. And I knew when I got him to the top that somebody in that building was taking that picture. So when I paused, his hands covered my back from my shoulders to my tight line. And you could feel those big hands closing up on you. And he said, "Put me down." And when I got the picture, I told Andre at that point in time that this picture would not make it into any book until he was out of the business, and it never made it in there. You took the picture.
Yeah, we had it on one of the covers of one of the wrestling magazines, but it was never in any book. Sports Review. Good memory. Good memory. What about your Andre
I've
story?
got an Andre the Giant story to tell. Y'all are gonna like this one. It's not very bad, but it's a little shady. But I'll tell you what, Andre the Giant was up there in New York, and I went up there, and Dad is always playing cards and everything. But when Andre said something, you better do it. I mean, it's Andre the Giant saying that, Terry, you want a glass of wine? You bet, Andre. Terry, look at this picture. Okay, Andre. Terry, you want to play cribbage? Oh yeah, I'll play cribbage. Whatever. Whatever you want to do.
Speaking of that, how come you got 2 beers and I got 1?
Because I'm fixing to give you one right now. Boy, you just interrupted my train of thought. Where in the hell was
He had it rolling.
So Andre, I do whatever Andre wants me to do. Andre says this. Oh yeah, Andre, okay, play cards. Oh, I'll play cards, So this one night I was up in this one town, he says, Terry, come here. Okay, Andre, where we going? Restroom. Toilet. So I go walking in. Okay, Andre, So he'd been to the toilet, And the door was shut on the toilet. It's a true story. So, hell, I figured I better go in there with him, So he opens up the door, and it smelled pretty bad in there, He opened up the door and looked in there, and he looked down in the toilet, and I had to go look through. He said, look. I said, okay, Andre. I looked down the toilet there like that, and Andre said, ring ropes. That's right, Andre. That sure is there. Well, it was true. All right, so it was a bad, off-color, tasteless story. That's okay. I'm sorry.
Good story, though. It was a good story.
But it was true.
I believe you. I believe you. If any of you have any questions you'd like to ask of Harley Race, Terry Funk, we have
But not about
podium.
ring
Come on up to the
ring
come on up to the podium right over there. There's a microphone, so you can come right over this side. You go right this way, and just duck. Don't duck. Very good. Okay, you got it.
And remember, you got this young little girl sitting over here, so keep them clean.
And talk right into the microphone, please.
Now, is this going to be clean, Sonny?
Yes, sir.
Would you sign a waiver that this is going to be clean? No, go right ahead.
If you don't mind, I got 2. One, y'all talked about NWA TNA product. I was wondering, how do y'all feel about the Ring of Honor wrestling, independent wrestling?
I think they do a heck of a job. And again, we're not sitting there, and TNA is, by golly, they got good talent there. And don't misunderstand me. We're just talking about the direction that the people behind the scenes are taking. And the same way with ROH is yeah, I think they got some great talent up there. I think Samoa Joe is a great boy. I really do. That boy's a talented kid. Yeah, and he's very physical. I think at Harley's boys, and again, I'm not saying this, but Harley's boys are also very much influenced by the Japanese wrestling, because a lot of his boys go to Japan. ROH, a lot of their boys go to Japan. And boy, they have a very physical product.
You want me to answer the same way? I fully agree with what Terry has said. I am now sending some Japanese people to ROH. They just had Kobayashi up there a few weeks ago, and in early December they're going to have Kenta and Morifuji. I get those two names confused. They're going to be up there. They produce an exciting event for people, and it's relatively a clean event. You know, they get a little wild on the outside, but Terry and I has violated every one of those rules a million times around.
Okay, and the second part of my question is, Terry, Funk, you answered part of this back there, but as far as like Ric Flair, like, do y'all have any Ric Flair stories, and what do you think about them?
Ric Flair stories.
Rick is probably one of the most charismatic people that's ever been in this business. And Rick would do damn near anything to entertain people. And he used to try to pull ribs on us. He fashioned himself as a guy that could hammer the sauce down. But one night the waitress screwed up. She had all these tray of shots. She brought them out and set them down, and she handed me mine, which was Ricky's, and then passed the rest of them out. They all went touche, and so did Ricky. And the hell is this? I was drinking water, and that's what Flair had been drinking all night.
Terry, you got a good Ric Flair story?
Just talking about the guy, dadgummit, I'll tell you straight out, level as I can be as an in-ring performer, damn good. Not many better. And does a great job in the ring. Do I have differences with him? Yeah, you're damn right, I always have, you know, especially back to the 89, 90 years there. But as far as myself knocking his performance, I don't think anybody can ever in the ring here. The boy he can hit it in the ring, give you 100% every night, and still is. You know, I wish I could say bad things about him, but I can't.
That's good. That's good. Do either of you think that he's hung on too long in his role in WWE? A lot of people.
Jesus, have I hung on to? Why would I?
Well, that's
say
why.
that?
No.
What do you expect my answer to be? God almighty.
That's why I was asking you there.
Damn, I'm 17 years older than Flair.
A lot of people.
Trying to knock me?
No.
Are you knocking me?
Not him.
Are you knocking me?
I wouldn't do that to you, Terry Funk. No, not at all. No, a lot of people just said he's destroying his legacy doing what he's doing in front of the camera.
Well, hell no, he's not. He's not destroying it.
What do you people think?
He's making a buck.
He's making a buck, yes.
Let him keep on going. What are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and kill him because he's
What's your comment?
Because he's 85? I mean, what's
84.
the difference there? Oh, he's boy, you're going to get in trouble with him.
No,
you're going to
you
become
said
one of those
85.
other men.
You said 85. He's not really either one of those. 32.
I feel like personally, anyone that's other than he's not trying to knock you, but say you Dusty Rhodes, anytime they can go out in front of audience and you know that the audience is still watching, they're still getting those situations. I feel like you're
Okay.
Are they having fun? That's the whole deal. That's it. That's it with all of you people. If you're having a good time out there, then what the hell is the difference? Whoops, I'm sorry, young lady.
What the heck?
I used a four-letter word there.
Do we have another question from another
What the heck's the
person
difference?
here?
By God,
Come
I'm
on
gonna walk.
up. Well, she can speak nice and loud from here if she can. Wait, can somebody hold her up to the microphone, please? This pretty young lady.
That's a future Miss America if I've
Sure
ever seen
is.
one.
This question is for Harley Race. What are your memories of Bob Backlund? Wrestling memories of Bob Backlund.
Bob Backlund.
Bob Backlund?
Not too many people talk about him much
Bob
these
Backlund.
days.
He looks like a Howdy Doody. I can
That's right.
understand
That's
why you
right.
like her.
The Howdy Doody fan over there.
It is, that's a Howdy Doody.
Bob Backlund was a great athlete. In the amateur respects, he was probably as close to untouchable as untouchable comes. In the profession that we're sitting here talking about, Bobby was a very limited guy, but he was a guy that I used to think that I could blow up about anybody, and by blowing up, I'm talking about running you out of wind in the ring. So I had 60 minutes with Backlund. At the end of that 60 minutes, Bobby was doing jumping jacks in the ring. He was in incredible shape. He lived about 10, 12 miles from the Tampa office. And they also had a ring in the back of it. He rode his bicycle to that thing every day. Bobby is very limited in a lot of ways, but he was also extremely talented in several different ways and an incredible athlete.
Why do you think, or I don't know how much you know about this, that
I know everything about it.
I know you do. That's why I'm going to ask. Why do you think Vince McMahon Sr. made Bob Backlund champion after coming off of people like Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, superstar Billy Graham?
Because legitimacy. Because who he was. That's the whole deal. And
It's a
Vince
box
McMahon.
office.
And I'm going to tell you something. And here I go. I sound like I'm trying to go ahead. Here's a guy that took over the world, everything else. I'm going to go ahead and tell him what he did wrong or right or anything else. But what did he do that? Why did he do that? Why does Vince need other things? Why does he need opposition? He needs somebody to bounce off of. Why did he have Bob Backlund? Because he saw Florida with Jack Briscoe. And he looked down there and he saw him with a legitimate athlete doing great business and kicking butt all over as far as attendance is concerned all the way across the United States. They were doing so much business, it was unbelievable, and they built it on authenticity. And that's what Vince McMahon expected to do with Bob Backlund, and he did. Bobby Backlund drew money. A lot of people go ahead and say, hey, Bobby Backlund, he wasn't very good up there. Bullshit.
Well, didn't they always
Bobby
load the
Backlund drew a lot of money.
They always loaded the
I don't want to
cards
hear
up.
any more of your
No, I'm just.
There you go again now. I've had enough of your
When
crap.
Backlund, I was there every month at the garden.
You were
show.
there every month,
Every
okay.
month. And at the garden shows, they always loaded the Bob Backlund cards up with Dusty Rhodes.
So Dusty, Dusty's drawing the money now? Dusty filled up Madison Square Garden now. What the hell did Dusty pay you? Is he paying your bills tonight?
No.
Let's get off of Dusty Road.
I wouldn't want to be on
The
Dusty
morons?
Rhodes, please.
I'll bet you wouldn't want to be on Dusty
Absolutely
Road.
not. Listen,
God almighty, I bet you'd hate it more if he was on you.
why are you touching me when you're saying that? Do you have some comments?
You're sick after you're sick.
You're correct.
Bob Backlund was Vince's answer to the NWA World's Champion. The NWA World's Champion went everywhere in the world, and 90% of the time he went 1 hour straight through the time limit. And can you imagine, Bruno could go an hour. I went an hour with Bruno in St. Louis. But Superstar and those other guys, they just didn't have the
endurance?
for want of a better word, the opportunity to be able to do that. I'm cutting Billy a little slack here. Billy'd have a hard time going an hour with
Mae Young.
Good fill in there.
but it,
I'll bet if you did, I'll tell you one thing, Sonny, if you did an hour with Mae Young, you better wear a rubber. I'm talking about a 4-ply, maybe an 8-ply, 12, whatever it is.
Don't explain this when you get back to the hotel later. Next question. Anyone else have a question? Sir, come on over so we can
I was going to say, is anyone
You
brave?
know, Michael, you're going to get about 22 hours here because I'm just getting warmed up.
Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions.
Get a little closer to the microphone, please.
I read in Rick's book, Mr. Race, about the night before Starcade that you went up to New York and talked to Vince. Could you talk about that?
Sure I can. I was offered an opportunity to go to New York with the NWA title. And if we could push time back, I don't know what the answer would be. My answer then was no. I thought at that point in time that the NWA had more guts than what they had, that they would, you know, hang in there and fight this thing like they had fought everything else that came before it. I was offered a considerable sum of money to do it. And I can't say that I would have changed my mind. I might have took the money and then changed my mind, but it's just a thing that's gone by. That's the way it is. It's in history.
Okay, answer your question?
Yeah. Mr. Funk.
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm still going to talk about Flair. I'm sorry, but the DVD with the I Quit match and that. Could you talk about that? Because I believe that's one of the greatest matches I've ever seen.
Sure was.
Well, I hope Vince remembers that. Dadgummit, as I haven't seen any residuals from that.
Well, you need some.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, as God almighty, what all is out there? There's tons of stuff, you know. How do you go ahead and keep track of it, everything? But that DVD, that was a very special match in my life. Who made the match? Did I make the match?
You both made the match.
That's right. That's exactly
Not just
right.
you. I mean, you have to.
And I've got to give credit enough to Rick on that too. That you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to go ahead and say, I would like to say that. I would like to say, damn, I'm the one that made that damn match. But I wasn't. I was, but Ric Flair wasn't either. It was both of us together. And that's what's great whenever you have two guys dancing together and you produce a great product.
That's what I try to tell folks that are getting into it, or my kids. It's like, hey, it's not one person. That other person has to help that person in the ring to make it look good.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes you can put two great guys in the ring and that just doesn't meld. It really doesn't.
Is there one guy you remember that was that guy to you?
That I couldn't meld with is
Yeah.
Harley. Harley, go ahead.
Sit down, he's only joking.
No,
This
that's
guy-
wrong.
this guy
That's
right
wrong. That's wrong.
This guy right here could have a tremendous wrestling match with a broomstick.
Okay.
When you can go in the ring for hour after hour and protect the individual that you're in there with, and things gel and gel right to the people, this guy can do it with anybody.
One of them that I could do that with, that I gelled with, was I took care of him because the guy didn't have any talent, couldn't do jack in the ring, had a big fat ass, this Mick Foley. No, he is a very talented guy. And I'll
We'll tell
you
him
what,
you
I
said
love
that
working with him.
tomorrow.
Don't let him up there. He'll make a fool out of me. No, I absolutely love the guy, you know. Harley does too. And guy's just got the biggest heart in the world, and his whole life is in the right direction. He does the right thing with people and everything else, and he's a good family man. I think that's what Harley and I really respect about him, is that he respects a buck, and he tries to take the buck home to his wife, his family, spends it in the right place. You're not going to find him out in the crack house, but you might find him selling his underwear or whatever else he can.
Or his socks, actually.
Everything.
Next question. Anybody else here? This gentleman who came all the way from England to be here. Hello.
Just for the Q&A with Harley and Terry.
Yeah, I'm leaving tonight. Yeah,
Hello, mate. Go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, I have 2 questions, if that's okay. First of all,
A little bit louder, so we can
First of all,
You're right. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I'm fine, Bill Apter.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. A beautiful match called the Parade of Champions. You got that. Could you talk about any stories or anecdotes from about the NWA board of directors and their meetings, and how they would come to the process of who choosing who would be the world champion, etc.
Would you translate that in English?
He said the NWA meetings. What was it like? Be in the room there. What was it like? Paint a picture of them trying to choose who was going to be champion. You have all those people sitting around the table, Sam Muchnick and all the other. What was it like?
I don't really know. I was never in that room.
Is that right?
Were you in there, Derek?
I was never in there. I know that my brother was.
That's a God's honest true story.
And I'm going to give you an honest and truthful story about that. I'll give you an honest, truthful story about that.
So who was at the table?
That,
who were the people?
I don't know who was all there, but there was several. There was Fritz von Erich, who was the president and everything else. Right. And the fella that was going to, the 2 fellas that were being pushed was me and Harley Race. Right. And I feel that it was a very strange situation. And I was very lucky to make it to the position of having the title. The vote was 3-3, and Fritz von Erich made a deciding vote. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but this guy over here later went ahead and made history by being an 8-time world champion. And I really don't feel, and the son of a gun is the good part about it is he wasn't a 9-time world champion, and that's because I got it that one time. But no, I'm serious. This guy just did a great job with it, and it was it could get into a pretty hairy situation there, and you could lose friends over it. You could make enemies over it. It was that prestigious of a position, wasn't it, Harley?
Yes, it was. By how that vote came down, probably was the biggest break for myself of anything that's ever happened to me since I've been in wrestling. And it made total sense after it was over, and Terry was included in that loop. It opened up Briscoe with either one of the Funks, me with either one of the Funks, me with Briscoe. It just opened a hell of a lot of doors.
You look back at history, it all worked out right. It all worked out right. At the time, there was never any bitterness between me and Harley, but there was never any, it's funny, it's and there would have never been any bitterness no matter which way it came. But it was very crucial in our success in the world of wrestling, what happened there. It's a good question.
Did you ever think back then that you'd be able to be sitting here at a place like this and telling people exactly how that worked? I mean, that was taboo back then.
And right today, Bill, I don't feel comfortable
Same way.
in talking about a whole lot of this stuff. It's just been thrown out there from everyone from the top of wrestling to the bottom of it. And to me, I've got a quote in my book that is on a need-to-know basis. And 99% of the time, they just don't need to know.
There was always a respect among the boys, and I saw it. I was in the dressing rooms and places with you guys, and you didn't break the code. And then when Vince McMahon came out and said, hey, we're all about entertainment, were both of you very bitter at that point, or after a while did you both just have to go like, that's what the business is?
I lost my train of thought. I was handing Harley a beer and
I'm sorry.
myself.
When Vince McMahon
You
came
weren't
out,
saying anything too important, anyhow.
no, I guess not. But when he came out and said that whole thing about, wrestling just being entertainment, how much did that eat away at you after all those years you put in by saying it's not entertainment, this is our sport?
You want to take that, Harley?
Well, when Vince came out and said that he actually said, these people do exactly what I want them to do. Well, at that point in time, I wasn't doing exactly what Vince wanted to do. And the reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now is I wouldn't do what Vince wanted me to do. I had an opportunity to be one of his people in the back of the arena. I cannot say that, well, I just know I couldn't say yes sir, no sir to him or anybody else.
Because it's something you don't believe in.
Well, no, wait a minute now.
Go ahead.
Would Harley and I have changed it? We would have done things somewhat differently, I'm sure. But if I had the opportunity to do what Vince did, damn right I would have done it. And I think Harley feels, don't take us as just as hatred towards Vince McMahon. It's not a hatred. We're just talking about life and the way things turn. And there's a fellow on the front row that's falling asleep there.
There's a Q&A going on here.
Why that goofy son of a gun?
I can't see because of these lights.
He's meditating. He wasn't sleeping.
He's meditating. He was meditating. Damn, I thought I was interested.
I got you out of it. Don't you have no
What the hell? Vince McMahon. Boy, I thought we was having the greatest interview in the world.
This was
I looked out there and there's that big goofy looking guy out there. Get a camera shot of that big goof. He's got his eyes shut. Look at him over there. Damn.
Didn't you see me
Oh, look
like
at-
that at Fan Fest in Charlotte?
Got a what?
Didn't you see me like that at Fan Fest in Charlotte?
What do you think I'm trying? You think I'm giving the same interview or something?
He was awake during that last Dusty interview in Charlotte, though. I remember that.
He kind of resembles Dusty. Are you any relation to Dusty Rhodes? The American Dream. Let me hear that voice one more time, funny.
If you will, baby.
That's me.
That's him.
That's mean. That's what it's about. Where are we?
What were we talking about? When Vince, anyway.
Listen to my beer tricks.
Do we have another question? Yes, you have another question, sir. All right.
Indeed, sir.
This is, wait, look at, ladies and gentlemen, only here.
Hold that. Terry Funk does bedtime tricks.
If only Ed Sullivan were still alive. right here on our stage. Yes, go right ahead.
Don't fall asleep again. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'm going to come over there, God almighty, I'm going to come over there. Harley and I are going to strip those pants right off.
I don't want to be here when you do that.
And I'm going to have Harley's help, too.
This man came all the way from London to hear you talking about this guy sleeping. You're going to take his trousers off? Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, I was wondering if you could talk about, particularly back in the...
Would you translate that again?
He hasn't finished yet.
Dadgummit.
All right, compose yourself, mate, all right?
I'm sorry.
And let's get the question out here.
Okay, Bill Apter. Back in the 70s and 80s when you were world champion.
This is why he's falling asleep.
Why all the way from England, all the way to here, and spend all that damn money?
You could have just
on a
telephoned
trip
us.
this way to come to here. Why? Do you want to see that fat ass that ain't sucking off?
Wait.
That fool you don't want to see him.
They asked the questions. We answered the questions. Go right ahead. Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I'll try and cut this down. Can you actually talk about like the actual art of a wrestling match and how you would kind of set up a wrestling match, when to do things in the ring, why you would do certain things at a certain time, kind of thing.
Sit down.
The answer is no. It's a big fat no.
No, we just got problems.
If you'd like to
We just
learn
got
this,
language problems, that's all it is.
if you'd like to learn
I
about
still
this,
can't figure out what the hell he's talking about.
if you would like to learn how that works, Harley, you have a school, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you can get Harley's phone number and attend the school.
To answer your question,
My God, you're not going to take him on as a student, are you?
to answer your question, that is absolutely impossible to explain. And that's, I'm not pulling your leg, that's the truth. It's just absolutely impossible to explain.
But doesn't that, I mean, like me, right away I go like this because it's probably still the old school. It's so, and this is nothing about you personally, but it just bothers me when someone says, you know, well, how do you know what to do when? Because I'm still of that kayfabe generation that I wish still existed.
It's still impossible to explain because where's the situation? What thing are we talking about? It's just impossible to explain. If you're talking about generating a match in the ring, it has to be then. It comes out of your head at that point in time. We can sit here and blow smoke up your butt all night
No,
long.
that's the difference. That's the difference between then and now. That's Harley. That's me. People want to ask me to this day and age, and Harley too. Did you ever, I mean, hell, you see these matches anymore? And again, I'm not, let's change it. You see these matches anymore? Well, geez, they're not matches like that come from the heart. They're, you know, I never rehearsed the match. I never went in there with an opponent, you know, for years, never went in with an opponent and even talked over a match. Just went out there and did it. Am I right or not, Harley?
Came out of your head right at that
And
point.
it came out of his head, and it come out of my head. It come out of the leader's head. Come out of one guy's head is what it did. Somebody was a leader and somebody was a follower. And Harley could dance his ass off. And I could dance my ass off too. Sometimes that was a problem with us. Both of us were trying to lead. There's nobody to follow.
Next question. Yes,
What a great business.
Come on up. Nice and loud, please. Are you from England too? No, you're not. All right.
No, sir, right from South Carolina.
All right. So I'm going to have to interpret for this now too? Go right ahead.
I got a three-part question. First, from Mr. Harley and Terry Funk. Who do you think is the most overrated and underrated wrestler today, whether WWE, any?
Most overrated wrestler.
Today?
Today.
Well, today or in the past.
Or in the past. Who got a lot of great publicity and couldn't live up to it.
There's
Sit down, Mrs. Rhodes.
There's a lot of those a lot of guys out there at our point in time that were probably rated above either one of us but capability in the ring was little to none. And I'm not going to sit up here and call names out to insult people. I think you know already, or you wouldn't have asked the question. But that's, there's no sense of us sitting here and call.
No, we won't talk about him right now.
You mean the whale?
We're going back whale hunting again, aren't we? Yeah. Did you have another question?
Yes, sir. And to Mr. Harley Race, you manage many wrestlers. Is there anyone that stands out that you thought were better than the other or whatever?
People you managed, were there any who stood out better than the other?
Well, I managed half a dozen of them, but the two that really jump out, and I just said this about not calling any names or saying anything, but
go for it.
Two of the guys that didn't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch could not go in the ring and go 60 minutes with anybody. One of them's on the card right up the road from us tonight, Lex Luger. And the other one, I think he's going to be in New Jersey not too long off, and I'm up there also, so once I mention his name, I'll have to calm that situation down up there too.
Yeah, just, everybody keep this quiet. Don't tell anybody.
Just keep this low on the DVD.
Is Big Van Vader.
Big Van Vader.
Wow. Both of them made it all the way to the very top, and if they had to go in the ring and lead that thing from bell to bell, would have about as much chance of doing it as you do.
Wow. You still have one? Okay. Well, have another.
Just beat me upside the head.
You know what's really funny, what's really so funny and so enjoyable is this is an enjoyment to me, is to sit down with this guy right here and with you people and answer questions. And the craziest thing about it is I could stay here all night long, and so could he. Really could, and it's just...
The meter is running on the cab, though, outside. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Two more, please.
Go right ahead.
I'm just thinking, y'all both legends, one Hall of Famer. I look for you to be a Hall of Famer anytime. My question is there any time in your point that you wrestle someone that just stands out and you be like, wow, I made it, or,
Sort of.
Yeah.
The moment you thought
wow,
you
made it.
Okay.
It is really wow, I made it. Wow, I made it. I'll tell you, I'll sure tell you what it is.
What was that moment?
The moment, it was really and no BS or anything else, is the Miami Beach one, whenever I went ahead.
Against Jack Briscoe, I remember
beat
that.
him, and broke Sonny Meyer's nose at the same time.
Referee.
He's the referee.
How did you break his nose?
I said, wow, because I went ahead and Jack gave up, and I said, wow, and I threw my arms back and I broke his nose, and then I said, I made it. And that's it. I broke Sonny Meyer's nose in about 2 or 3 places. His nose looked like a big potato. His nose looked exactly like Gerald Briscoe's big potato nose. If you ever noticed Gerald Briscoe's big nose, He's got a big, fat, ugly nose. Gerald Briscoe does. How do you like that, Gerald Briscoe? You and your big, fat, overbearing, obnoxious, fat nose.
Is that a challenge for
Gerald Briscoe. I'm talking to you, Gerald Briscoe. I'm not talking to Jack or anybody else. You, Gerald, you and your big, fat Oklahoma Indian nose. You big nose fool. Fat nose, Gerald Briscoe.
Harley, you have any nose stories about anyone?
He's got a fat nose, Gerald Briscoe does.
When did you realize you had made it? That moment in time?
Well, we'd both be lying if we didn't tell the same story. Kansas City, 1973, his brother. When they raise your hand and they declare you the best of your peers, how much better does it get than that? It just doesn't get any better than that. That was a thing. If you're in this business and if your heart's in this business, that champion traveled the face of this globe. And he's been there. He's been every spot. And when you come in, you walk in the dressing room, everyone in that dressing room wishes they were in your place. And it just doesn't get any better than that.
Your final question is...
How many questions is this?
This is like 72?
72,
Right
and he
Four
hadn't got
horsemen,
down there.
that's very good.
There's a lot of people. There's 700 or 800 people behind you, Sonny.
He's afraid to fall asleep now.
700 people also want to ask a question here tonight.
7.
You'll all have to remain seated until he finishes, however. Go right ahead.
WWE just brought out a DVD of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. And I'm curious, have you ever wrestled on a card or whatever where he was, and it also talked about how he was unprofessional. Did y'all ever wrestle where he was probably unprofessional, or have y'all ever had a wrestler that was very unprofessional to y'all, and why?
Who are you talking about?
Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior.
I never came across, honestly and seriously, one of the few guys in this business that I never crossed paths with. Maybe Harley did.
Did you?
The Ultimate Warrior is probably the only guy on the face of this map of the world that in the ring was dumber than Hogan.
Welcome to a new subject has been opened.
We're off of this.
Oh, Harley! Oh, Harley!
What you gonna do now?
Oh. Brother.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
I wrestled the Ultimate Warrior when I first went up to the WWE for probably 3 months. I even, those things he used to have hanging from his arms, I backed him into the ropes and I used to tie him to the damn ropes. And being the Ultimate Warrior, he thought that he could explode off of there and tear those things right off. But they were nylon. All he did was just tighten them and tighten them. Finally, the announcer would have to come up with a knife, cut them loose. Now, if that was done to you one time,
You would learn.
you'd think that you would learn. I've done it to him probably 6, 7 times.
But Harley, those weren't nylon strings, those were hairs.
They were very, very strong hairs.
So now that you've opened the Hogan can of worms, let's go right into it.
Now wait a minute. Let's have 3 more beers.
No, we've got the moment right here and right now.
Oh,
Did
we
you
do?
want to speak further on the Hogan situation there? No, you wrestled him many times and all over the place. So what?
Again, his talent was his charisma, his presence in the ring. And that's where it ended.
But exactly what Harley's saying now, you know, is I examine a lot of that, you know, and I go ahead and I say a lot of funny things about Dusty. I say a lot of, Harley will agree with this, a lot of things about Hogan. But who was the greatest worker? Maybe they were. They did less and made more money than anybody I can think of. And Harley's in agreement with that.
Both of us, as you see us walk up here, are hobbling, crippling around. That's because we love what we did.
That's right.
And we weren't going to be embarrassed in the ring.
And that's the way that we wanted it. And we knew what the cost would be. We really did. I mean, Harley's no dummy and I'm not either. We knew where we were headed years ago. And we're headed to the point we are now. But very much satisfied with our lives and the way we lived them and the way we entertained you people out there.
And we all appreciate what both of you brought to this business.
That doesn't sound like 600 people.
Well, the other people, they're way in the back, way in the back.
It's actually 1,400.
The other,
listen to them.
the other people are stuck in a blizzard.
All right, all you people go ahead and cheer right now. Hey! Hey! Dang, let's technically augment that thing.
Anyone else have any other question before we wrap up? Sir, all the way from Atlanta, GA?
You got a good memory. I got one for each of you guys. Terry, first of all, your thoughts on Abdullah?
Abdullah. I love that, Abdullah. I wasn't making fun of him, that's just, do that silly stuff.
That is really stupid after.
I didn't mean it. I've always called him Abdullah. Go right ahead.
You go ahead, you're getting heat with the man.
Did that annoy, I'm sorry, did that bother you?
No, it's all
I know better than to say crap like that. Spanky. You ever see Spanky and Little Rascals?
Of course.
Little white pants on? Well, that's Abdullah. What are my thoughts on him? Honestly and seriously, is that Harley will probably agree with me, I hope he does, is the guy was a great box office attraction and probably crazy, insane, but I liked him. If we didn't do business, would I have liked him? I don't know. But we did a hell of a lot of business. And he honestly and seriously, he was one of the reasons that Baba was successful. And a lot of people don't want to admit that. But he was that important and that great of an entity in all Japan years ago. I think Harley will agree with that. Don't want you, Harley?
Abdullah was a very, very unique character in the wrestling business. He was a guy that everybody had looked at and said, that ain't ever going to make it. He took his style, and I think he took it one step further than the original Sheik Tucker. Abdullah, as big as he was, and really truly as out of shape as he was, did not back up one step in that ring. This guy was straightforward, and you had to really be at your best because you didn't know where Abdullah was coming from, but Abby was coming. I have nothing but respect for a guy that can do that.
He used to
Same way here, you know, and one other thing I'd like to say too is that brings us into people that we're going in and we're talking about that probably made a great difference in wrestling was Abdullah the Butcher and the Sheik because of what they did in the ring. But I'll tell you what, both of them, as far as believability is concerned, scared the hell out of me. You know, and I'm not kidding. I mean, they were both extremely good at what they did. They really were probably two of the best at that. Wouldn't you say so, Harley?
Sure they were.
Scared me, scared Harley. Yeah, we were running from Spanky and
Sheik.
Hey, I can remember what I'm talking about. You trying to tell me I've had too much drink?
Not at all. Have another. Abdullah used to attack the
For some reason I get on these things and I like to drink. But you know what it is? It's free. I mean, damn. Not very often do I get to drink all the beer I want.
Well, in front of everybody here.
Yeah, it's really something, isn't it?
Abdullah used to attack the photographers. You used to attack us once in a while too. Remember that? You chased us around the ring. And you don't want to talk about that. What was your next question?
No, I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
I might chase you around the ring tonight. There's no ring here.
Well, maybe tomorrow night.
How about the bedroom?
No, you're not my type. I keep telling you. Until you shave. No, go right ahead.
You are a sick puppy.
Thank you.
Last question was for Harley. I wanted to know if when Tommy Rich won the strap from you and lost it, a week later, was there an insignificant reason why he only kept it for a handful of days? Or?
Tommy was just a guy that was put in a position at that point in time that the guy that was booking me was his boss. And if he had a champion and shot him out on Turner's network nationwide, it fended off anything that was coming in around him at that point in time. And that's how Tom got to where he was.
One of the biggest magazine sales
Yeah,
we ever. Go right
Tommy
ahead,
got that way, and Dusty was kind of the same thing. Dusty says, "Hey, Jimmy, how would you like to go ahead and come up to my room?" And
Oh, Terry, don't tell the story.
You stole my line.
No, I was just doing the voice. Go ahead.
Terry, my boy. I'm being so
Yes,
stupid.
Terry.
So, all right, let's get on past Jim Barnett.
One of the.
Hey, let's get back to Dusty Rhodes.
One of the.
I'm the world's biggest person in the whole wide world, and yes, I can break wind anytime I want to. Listen to this.
Sounds like NASCAR on the radio.
How was that, Terry? Damn, Dusty, was that you? Was that you, Dusty?
Well, getting back to what I was trying to say. Kids love fart noises. They always did.
Watch your language.
You can say fart, that's okay. One of the biggest sales we ever had on the magazines was when we had that face shot of Tommy Rich with the headline, "The Fans Can Go to Hell." It was like one of the biggest sellers. Both these gentlemen, by the way, every time, there were probably about 10 guys we knew that you put them on the cover and that magazine would sell, and both of these guys were two of those people.
Terry Funk?
And Harley Race.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful that you said that.
Yes, sir. He's awake. Go right ahead.
He's standing.
Is that Jody Hamilton? That's the assassin, isn't it? That's Jody
No,
Hamilton.
hey, that's enough. You got your nerve. You got your nerve. He looks a hell of a lot better than Jody.
What? Okay.
You damn moron. You go ahead. I'd go ahead and I'd kick his ass for that one. I'd come on up here and I'd just whip him right now. Get down there. You guys face off. You're the smart ass, aren't you?
No.
Pop it off for that man down there.
I like him. He's...
But the thing there is Tony Atlas said the same thing a year and a half ago.
Did he really?
Yeah.
What Tony Atlas say?
He accused me of looking like Jody Hamilton.
Hey, Tony Atlas is like a foreseer. He is. Tony knows what's on in the future for the wrestling world and your life. What Tony say to you?
That I look like Jody Hamilton. And he tried to get...
No, you don't.
Say, you look like Jody Hamilton, doesn't he?
That's what he said. You're looking at me like I'm making this up. He just said that.
We were in Charlotte, and I went up to him and he said, you know what you look like? You look like... And then he figured out, he said, Jody Hamilton. And he looked at Steamboat and said, Steamboat, who's he look like? And Steamboat thought it was crazy. But anyway.
He could have been.
Yes.
The question and point, though, to get back to my friend's question about how you knew what to do when, this is my opinion from somebody that's never been in the ring. I believe what it relates to is pride and instinct. Because I feel, guys from your generation, you did have a pride in what you did. You did it because you wanted to, you loved it. Maybe it was a show, but you didn't present it as a show. Where now, I feel a lot of people, it is a show. They're not proud of it. They're just out there being, showing off. When you guys, like you said a while ago, you wanted to be respected, and you didn't want to be embarrassed. Well, these people, they don't look at it that way now. They don't present it that way. They look at it as, hey, I'm up here, and if I mess up, I mess up. There's no pride there. They're just out there to be seen. Where you guys, it was your job. It was your bread and butter. It was everything to you, and I think instinct really filled a whole lot of that.
One real important thing, and I'll tell you Harley will agree with this, is that dadgum is that that was the most important thing in the world to these guys. When we came into business, you weren't going to expose it in any way. I mean, that's just the way it was. I mean, it was a very, very closed business. And I mean, really, really closed. It wasn't people going around and saying, hey, nobody talked. But that was a wonderful thing. And what it did is it created a fraternity. And that was a fraternity among the wrestlers around the country. And we all had a common bond, and that's because we loved what we did. We were brought into it that way. Whether it was right or wrong, we don't know, but you didn't smarten other people up. And that's very different than from today. I think it's great. And I'll tell you what's so silly and goofy is that now, here we got the shoe fighting. What are they doing? They're not smartening anybody up. You follow me?
That's true.
That's right.
You got any pro sport that's out there is entertainment. If it wasn't, they wouldn't have asses in the seats and all those big, huge arenas and football stadiums around the country. anything that has pro tied to it is entertainment. And it's all on a need-to-know basis. And in my opinion, that's as much as you need to know.
Drives me crazy when a fan will come over and say, "Oh, Terry Funk, Harley Race, I'm going to mark out."
Yeah, because I am so funny.
But just the whole
so
inside,
very, very funny.
just the whole inside
And
lingo.
So funny.
Oh,
Oh.
it's the inside lingo that was always kept inside.
Ha ha.
He's not going to let me talk about this. Next, any other question before we wrap up here?
Any good Bobby Heenan stories?
Bobby Heenan stories.
I'm going to tell you one. I had known Bobby very long, and if you've heard any of the goofy stuff about me, this is one of the true ones. When I first met Bobby, we were in Indianapolis. There was
Indianapolis, the Bruiser.
Yeah, but
The Mini Bruiser.
the Japanese guy that was there for years.
Minneapolis, Tokyo Joe. He was nuts.
Anyhow,
I know a lot of them.
there was a Japanese guy, myself.
Toro Tanaka.
Nope, that's Kansas City.
Paxson.
That's
Yakanazawa.
Paxson wasn't Japanese.
He was Korean.
Moto.
Anyhow, back to the story.
Who?
Masanori Saito.
Masasaito.
You guys tell a better story than me. That's great.
Sorry, Harley, please go back. I apologize.
Next question.
No, I'm being stupid, Harley. I'm just being silly.
Doesn't matter about the Japanese person. What was the story?
It was a racially slanted story, and I'm not going to tell it.
Oh, okay. All right. Is it
Against who? Against the Italians? The Spanish?
Where are we going with this?
The South Americans?
Will you put it in the second volume?
The Hawaiians? They deserve it.
There's a whole lot that's going to go in the second volume.
Okay. Including this Japanese story we want to hear. Do you have a Bobby Heenan story?
Maybe.
Well, would you like to tell us one?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Well,
he calls me up all the time. He does, you know. He thinks he's so clever anymore, you know. He calls Harley too. I know that, you know. And he just thinks we like to talk to him, but also he thinks he's much smarter than us. Bobby Heenan does, you know. He thinks he's real smart.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's always been a terrible asshole. Bobby has. Hasn't he, Harley? He's horrible, isn't he?
What was that Japanese guy's name?
Bobby Heenan. Has Bobby been over there? Yeah, I'm sure too.
Sir, you had a question over there. Nice and loud, please. Come on up to the Marriott podium.
How long do you guys going to go with this? I mean, my God, how many questions can 5,000 people ask?
5,000.
Maybe 6 here. How many?
This is 4,992.
Holy moly! Look how far back those seats go.
Go right ahead, sir. Nice and loud.
See that guy on the back row back there?
Is Virgil back there somewhere?
What's your name? Hell, I can't even hear it up here.
He can't hear you either.
Just wanted Harley to share any kind of memories he had of Von Erichs coming into his home territory, and then the three, if you had any memories or final thoughts to share about either Chris Candido or Eddie Guerrero.
Von Erichs is, and there's one alive. It's a tragic story. The the whole group of them. Kevin, the only one of the Von Erichs that I know is still alive.
Yes, he is the only one.
His generation of children, it started with tragedy. The one that would be the oldest was struck by lightning in a trailer park in Buffalo, New York.
It was Jack Jr., I believe, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure you're probably right, Bill, but the whole thing is just a human tragedy that
couldn't have written anything.
No writer could have wrote a story that tragic to a family anywhere on the face of this earth. I saw Kevin not too long ago, and I just, you just gotta say, God bless you, and good luck to you.
You want to know about Chris Candido? I saw him just a few weeks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to say something right now.
Go ahead.
Is that I mentioned this to Harley today, and this is so important, is that we can go into the middle of New York City. We can go into Philadelphia. We can go to a crack house in Philadelphia. And you go to that crack house and you count the deaths that they have had in the last 5 years out of that crack house. And it can't compare to the deaths that we've had in wrestling for the last 5 years. There is an infection there. We need to look at it. We need to examine our own business. We need to do what we have to do. And what we have to do is what? What we have to do is what Harley has done. We've got to instill respect to our business, whatever it might be. Hopefully it doesn't happen again and again and again. I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. I'm just telling everyone that something needs to be looked at. Something needs to be done. I don't care whether it's, whatever it is, whatever it might be, the amount of deaths that we have had in this business over the last 5 years compared to any other professional sport, even professional entertainment. They're not having the deaths that the wrestlers have. Call it sports or call it entertainment. Something's wrong. Somebody look at it. Somebody examine it. Somebody stop it.
And it has to be done internally by us. You can't legislate, or say the word. You cannot do that. It needs to be done internally. And if we don't correct ourselves, there'll be another generation that I don't want to mention the names and throw it out there to the world, to the group of people that we're talking about. If we don't clean up our own act, nobody's going to do it for us.
If we don't clean up our act, if baseball don't clean up her act, if football don't clean up her act, if track don't clean up her act, if basketball don't clean up her act, sports will never be sports. And that's what you have to remember. It'll never be sports. Cheaters aren't supposed to win. They're just supposed to drink Coors Light.
Another commercial for Coors Light. Regarding Chris Candido, I saw him about 2 weeks before he died. He had that fire back in his eyes. He was ready. He was clean and ready, and I was very shocked to find out when he died after that brief contact with him.
You guys have any memories on Eddie Guerrero?
You bet. You bet, the whole family. I remember Eddie Guerrero, and Harley probably does too, but being down in El Paso, Texas, Eddie Guerrero, 2 years old, diaper on him, crapping his pants, walking around there, mom and pop taking the doggone tickets at the gate. Yeah, you bet. I remember a lot of things about him. I remember a lot about Chavo. I remember a lot about Armando. I remember a lot about the old man. Great Hector, all of them a great family. It's just a tragedy, terrible tragedy. I can remember him at one of our art bar. We're tag team partners. I watched them in Mexico. Greatest tag team I've ever seen in my entire life. They were wonderful. Maybe not too great. I also wrestled Harley and Larry Hennig. It was pretty damn salty at their time. But really, these kids were great. Great performers. I can't say enough about the family. Chavo, every one of them. Harley wrestled Chavo. What a great performer he was, right, Harley? He was great. Great legends in the Mexican, in the Mexican community. They were great wrestlers in the ring. I can name 3 of them. Ricky Romero, the Guerreros, the Guerrero family, Chavo and them, and Jose Lothario. Loved them all. Drew Money, great. Weren't they, Harley?
Every name that you just mentioned, Terry, was. I first went to Amarillo, Texas, and met this guy sitting right to my side. He was still in college. The Guerrero.
Me?
You.
I never got out. I never made it, Harley.
But you were in there.
I win, but I never made it.
Right.
Well, I was majoring in fun.
Well, at that point in time, I think we all were, but Terry was still in school. I went through Amarillo the first time in 1961, I think we decided that was the other night.
Yep.
1961. Gory Guerrero, his father, and there was a couple other different promoters in West Texas at that point in time. This was before any of the Guerreros, other than Gory, going back to your dad, were in the wrestling business. And there's a couple of them that went quite a ways in it, and Eddie being the guy that went the furthest. It's just a tragedy when you see this stuff happen to a kid that's 38 years old. That's what we were talking about a while ago when we said we need to really examine ourselves. I don't know how far this thing's going to go. I'm sure it's probably to the end of it right now. But in that family, there was several wrestlers. In this family, there was 3 great wrestlers. And I'm not saying that the Guerreros weren't great. They were, and Eddie was. Eddie was a great kid. Terry knew him when he had diapers on. I knew him when he had diapers on. And those kids are supposed to outlive us.
Next, did you want to add to that, Terry?
I don't have any problems with drinking.
Young lady back there, you had a question? This attractive blonde over here has a question for Terry Funk.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, we're going to get hammered, Terry.
Come on, lady. I want to hear this one.
Who is it? Who is this?
It's a lady who bought a ticket for tonight. Go right ahead.
I would like to ask you two, what made you persevere through 30 years of wrestling?
Wow, what a great question. Terry?
Because
Harley?
they're both great.
Harley, you want to take it?
I think we have in her hand ready.
He didn't mean
Pretty
that.
good
BJ,
answer.
he didn't mean that.
Persevere over through 30 years. It's just something we loved. It's something that we, as we buried, I bury wrestling in the backyard, dig it back up all the time, and I know every wrestler like Harley and myself, it's, being honest, reaching the end of her career, and we want to hang on to it a little bit, love it with all of our hearts, and I think that's what makes us go for 30 years. And the buck. Bucks are pretty important.
And that
But
wonderful.
that wasn't the most important thing, was it, Buck? With you and Harley?
No, it definitely wasn't. The two of us have been probably two of the luckiest people on earth. We have been able to do what we absolutely love to do all of our lives. I've never had another job. I started doing this when I was 15 years old. Both of us love to do what we do. We beat the hell out of one another from the middle 60s, and it's not over yet. It's just something that it's either in your blood and you love what you're doing, or, and here I go back to I ain't gonna say it. It's either in your blood.
Say it, Harley, say it.
You go back to the Hogans, to the other things that they've made a ton of money at the expense of people like Terry and myself.
That's true. Very true.
We do what we do, and we've done it for a hell of a long time because we truly love what we do. And that's why I'm blowing smoke up my own, you know what, but I'm trying to train kids with that philosophy in life. We loved it. His dad loved it. And if you don't get kids involved in this business that love what they're doing, it's going to go away. You can flood the market with contract people, and that's what you wind up with, is contract people. You flood the people, flood the business with the people that love the business. It'll go on forever. I can't say too much.
And the other thing is that you flood the business too, is you flood the business. And you and your love for the business is what also makes us do what we do and want to do what we do. Is y'all are such a big part. And this is not like a cheap pop deal, you know. Nick always uses cheap pops, you know. He says that cheap pops are like, you know, if you're in Boston, you say, let's go Red Sox. Everybody hollers, yeah, you know. I'm not cheap popping you here with this. Is it the truth? Is it, you people are what makes us love the business too. As stupid as that may sound, is that we really love you guys. And it's kind of a great family that we're in. And it is a family. And we're all members of that. And we're all goofy, and we're all crazy, and we all kind of bond together because of wrestling. It's wrestling. It's what it is. It's Americana. It's silly, it's stupid, but it's not stupid to any of us. That's the important thing. It's silly and it's stupid, but it's not stupid to any of us. We all love it.
I was going to comment, but I'm going to leave that alone. I think that right there says it all.
Well, let's get the hell out of here.
By the way, also, I just want to mention that I think what that young lady was also talking about was the women who have stayed so true.
Geez, we had a great place to get the hell out of here after for another goddamn 35 minutes.
Let's stand up and applaud the women who have supported these gentlemen.
I'll do that. Help me up, Apter.
You are up, Paul. Thank you all for coming here this evening.